So I was thinking about this quote by Naval Ravikant. He'd said that if it takes you a degree to do it, then it's not going to make you rich, or something along those lines. He basically said that a degree which you do specifically for the purpose of of even being eligible for some particular job, then you're not going to get rich because. And I was thinking about how that applies to most business schools. Like they've got all of these degrees which are specifically meant to get you, a foot into the door of the business world, the corporate world. And it just makes me think like that is so unfortunate because what it essentially means is that you have to have a degree in order to do things that you can actually learn on the job. I mean, at least that's the way it used to be back in the 60s, in the 70s and the 80s. Like I remember this one interview by Mike Bloomberg. I think he was at the SED School of Business, or maybe it was Oxford, I don't know. Well, he was, telling a story about his first job, when he was, interviewing for his first job, he chose to go with the job that gave him the maximum amount of freedom, even though they weren't paying him as much. And he chose that job because there was the hiring guy, the recruiter told him that we don't know what your strengths are, we don't know what your weaknesses are, so we're going to work with you. We're just going to give you like a position in which we both of us sort of get to know each other well, and you get to know your interests, we get to know what you're good at, and then we sort of on the job, on the fly, in situ, decide what we're going to get you to do or what you want to do. And none of that stuff exists anymore because everyone is just expecting, these business schools to sort of somehow give you the skills that are necessary to use in business, which I think, with the advent of ChatGPT and other AI engines on, like you've got Gemini, you've got Perplexity, and all of these things sort of bring out real loopholes in the system, in the chain, that you get educated, and after that you get a job because you got educated, and you don't get a job if you're not educated. Like the minimum eligibility criteria for most of these jobs are like you should have like an MBA or like a degree in investment management, like investment and wealth management or something of that sort. My point being that we have officially crossed the point in which organizations have become so big and have started scaling up at rates that were probably have not been documented before, in a way that they demand people to just be robots. And it's like, and people are doing that because they think that that's what gives them stability. But in reality, all it does is tie you to a particular lifestyle where you're just working from like 10 hours a day, and then you go home and sleep, and then on weekends you're trying to enjoy food or other beverages that would sort of make you forget that it's all going to restart in the next 2 days. So that's one thing. The other thing is that I think we're really losing out on creative freedom, or maybe that's just the place that that I'm coming from. I'm coming from these. I was surrounded by these people at college and at uni who were just, everything that they did was a calculated move to secure something on their resume. I mean, most of them, like about 70% of them, had absolutely no interest in actually doing something just for the sake of it, especially in social groups. Like those social groups were just infested with so much calumny and so much gossip and so much, rumoring about each other so as to have an upper hand in the social hierarchy. And so recently I was having this analytical discussion with ChatGPT, and I was telling ChatGPT how I saw this sort of the blooper or the gag reel of Star Trek Into Darkness. It's a movie I really like. And everybody on the set, like you got Chris Pine, Benedict Cumberbatch, Simon Pegg, Zachary Quinto, and others, and they were all having so much fun on the set in which this movie was made. They were laughing with each other, they were engaging with each other like kids would. Like it almost seemed like they were kids, had it not been for their, for their look. If you could see how they were interacting with each other, that it was just how children play with each other. And so that led me to ask ChatGPT, like, why is it that we never get to see that kind of stuff in the corporate or the business or the academic world? And ChatGPT was so, the answer really resonated with me because, in all the other sectors apart from the creative arts, the work is about the work. So everyone's coping by engaging in maximizing their own value within the company. So they want to, be the first one to speak up in meetings. They want to be the first one who has the maximum number of ideas. Whereas in the creative arts, you're playing a character. Well, like in acting, you're playing a character, and there is no sense of a competition between, okay, you're playing this character and I'm playing another character, so I don't really need to compete with the other person because they're doing their thing and I'm doing my own thing. And I think that's something that we really, really don't, so ChatGPT's thing was that because the work in the creative arts is about feelings and emotions, the coping mechanisms that naturally develop in that kind of a space are the ones that help you bond with each other. Because in order for a scene to go well, both the parties should be cooperating with each other. They should, do you get what I'm saying? I mean, but that's not the case in other jobs which are not non-creative, especially the jobs in which you're basically doing the same work as the other 11,000 workers or whatever. And you get treated like shit. That's even being like coerced to do the same stuff over and over again is not enough. You get treated like shit by your supervisor or your superior or whatever hierarchy they've got going on. And I just think that, so what I'm thinking right now is how a human being can only maintain like 180, and that's the maximum, a maximum number of 180 connections with other human beings. And you've got these massive corporates which are like scaling way beyond that. And so like how can you expect everyone to be in the same sort of mindset to put the company first? Like, why would they put the company first if they don't even know like 80 to 90% of the company? Like, they're only interacting with the 10%, and even that, society is not making it easy for us to actually communicate with each other because everyone's at each other's neck all the damn time. And what else? There is, okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is the work-life balance thing. It's not actually a balance, it's actually a divide, that you have to keep your work separate from your life. Who you are at work who you are at home shouldn't interfere with who you are at work, right? And I find that to be such a stupid concept, because the way that we have evolved as a species, I think it had more to do with social bonding, like the tribes we formed, had more to do with social bonding than they did with, supporting to make some mega, like, multinational company a global sensation. Like, that was not the purpose. That was not in our minds when we were evolving. Like, all that was in our minds was, okay, I got to stay safe. I hope my emotions are respected. I hope my feelings are respected. I mean, obviously they wouldn't be thinking along exactly those lines, but the point remains that it was, being in a tribe was about safety and what you could contribute to other people. But in today's day and age, everyone is just at each other's throat, trying to take each other's promotions or trying to take each other's presentations and whatnot. So it's a really, it's the fantasy of a really mischievous and nefarious, whimsical person. So, like, the reality is dystopian enough for us to not need dystopian novels. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, what's the way forward? Like, we have to somehow realize that capitalism or socialism, whatever form you choose, at the end of the day, you need to have infrastructure that exposes a person to the maximum number of people that are working in their own company. So instead of them competing with each other inside the same company, at least, they're not even they're not even competing with the competition that's outside the firm. They're competing with each other to rise within the firm, which doesn't make sense. Like, the purpose of a system is what it does. Famous quote by Stafford Beer. And from whatever I've just said, would it not seem like the purpose of any multinational corporation or a mega corporation or the kind of business companies we've got today is basically about serving the political agendas within the system itself, rather than actually making their product better. And sure, they might be making their product better to a certain extent, but I don't think it's actually happening in a way that would seem technologically advanced. Yeah, maybe, sure, the tech companies, like, you've got all of these amazing electric vehicles coming out, and there's some fabulous work being done there. But I suppose that's like the best of the lot. You don't see that every day in I don't know. I'm at a loss for words when it comes to examples. Also because I don't want to name any names. So I don't know where we go from here. I don't know. I've got no idea. But that's like a problem that I'd like to solve, in the sense that, how do I figure out a way to integrate work and life and let people feel like they belong within the community that they're working in, rather than working for some multinational corporation, which from the outside at least seems like a soul-sucking succubus type of thing. And yeah.